cool kids growing up, and she supposed it was far too late in life to become one now. Besides, she had been on for more than 12 hours at that point. Going home was the only thing on her agenda. What happened to, I'm going to start getting out more. I'm going to start being more adventurous. You act like you're 80. What do you need to rush home for? To have your bowl of mushed peas and tuck into bed after Wheel of Enticement? There was no use arguing with the dryad, a lesson Grace had learned well over the course of their friendship. Fine, she'd cried, throwing her hands up in defeat. I'll go. Happy now? We still need to break down these blackberries before we leave, so don't go disappearing. Kalea grinned in triumph, a smug, cat-that-got-the-cream expression on her pert face. Yeah, actually I am. This is supposed to be your summer of fun, remember? You said you wanted to be more adventurous, and I'm honor-bound as your friend to make sure that happens. Brogan is coming, so, let's see where the night takes us, shall we? She winked pointedly, and Grace felt heat move up the back of her neck at Kalea's words as she mentally recounted the previous afternoon. The big bull had been flirting with her since she'd started at the farm, and as she'd reciprocated the flirtation, things had steadily escalated to whispered comments and innuendo that would be likely grounds for termination at any business with an HR department. Fortunately for her employment, Cal's farm possessed no such thing, but they were beginning to toe a dangerous line. Cambric Creek was in the grip of a heat wave, and even though she started each day with a light cardigan over her sundress, by early afternoon she would be stripped down to the spaghetti-strapped shift while baking beneath the small umbrella at her table. She had just led a small group of newly arrived patrons up the pathway of the north field, instructing them on where they could start picking their own fruit, before detouring around the back of the first barn, in hopes of finding some shade as she journeyed back to the blistering hot concrete pad where her table resided. Brogan had been coming out of the barn, stopping short as he saw her approaching, a lascivious grin spreading across his bovine mouth as he ogled the amount of bare skin she was showing. I'm just about to take a break. How about you? Ready for one? She'd smiled, not slowing until she was right before him, feeling the drag of his gaze over her body, biting her lip as he shifted, adjusting the front of his jeans with no trace of subtlety. I hadn't planned on it just yet. It would be easy to pretend she were the innocent recipient of unwanted advances, Grace thought, as she looked up coquettishly, but it would have been a lie of the most heinous sort. What did you have in mind? He didn't step aside as she moved between him and the barn wall, the press of his huge body even hotter than the blazing sun. Her breath had caught when he'd crowded her against the wooden exterior of the barn, the outline of his cock pressed to her front, a meaty hand dropping to her hip, holding her there. Far be it from me to be inappropriate in the workplace, but if you care to join me for an off-the-clock lunchtime rendezvous in the back barn, I can guarantee you won't walk right for a week. She didn't want to date the big minotaur. She didn't want to get involved with anyone from work. She was smart enough to know that it would only bring trouble. Grace loved her job, loved the people she worked with and the community they served, and she wouldn't do anything to jeopardize that. That did not mean, as her hand involuntarily raised to scrape her nails over his denim-encased erection, that a very base part of her, the part she was somewhat ashamed to admit existed, wasn't desperate to be fucked stupid by her coworker. Too horny to think. Her ex had been a minotaur as well, and while she knew better than to paint the whole species with his tarnished brush, her experience saved her from needing to employ too much imagination to visualize what her coworker was packing below the belt. She could easily envision how long and thick his cock would be, and knew all too well the delicious pressure that came from being filled by something with that girth. There was a touch of truth to the fantasy she harbored, and as a consequence, she knew how good it would feel to let Brogan lead her off to one of the empty outbuildings, hold her up, and fuck her against the wall. She could almost picture the giant puddle.